Hello, welcome to the Health In Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. You've come to the right place to tune in and participate with your comments and questions. Love is the greatest healer of all, but sometimes, in order to change our emotions, we must take action in other spheres of our lives. We speak with experts in alternative and complementary health fields and hope you will benefit in some small or great way. Remember, you are wherever your thoughts are. Make sure your thoughts are where you want to be.
Good afternoon, good morning, good everything. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the Health In Show. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and it's so nice to have you all with us today. We are an affiliate, as you heard, of Homeopathy World Community. Our founder, Debbie Brooks, started our show, and we are continuing to do the best we can in her footsteps, and she is here with us always. So before we get on with our guest, I just want to remind you all that you're welcome to join us in our chat. You can put your name, nickname, whatever you like in underneath the video, and you can comment, ask questions from there, and we will be monitoring it. And we welcome you there. You can call in anytime you want to 919-518-9773, or you can come in on Skype voice at Computers 2K Voice, and we welcome you to call in, ask questions, because whenever the mood strikes you and you hear something interesting today, don't leave with that question in your heart. Call us and let us help you answer the question and just give you a little bit more power and a little bit more information. So Amnon is here. Good morning. And he is manning
Good morning.
He is manning everything, right?
Yeah, well,
You're doing it. You're doing a good job. So let me turn over the mic to Kavitha, and she's going to take it from here. Good morning.
Hey, Madeline, good morning. Hello, Amnon and Deepak and Gabriel. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Homeopathy World Community Health In Show. This is Kavitha Kokunor, President and CEO of HWC. All our health in shows are dedicated to Debbie Brooks, founder of Homeopathy World Community, and as always, I want to thank Amnon for helping us with health in shows. All our health in shows are for educational purpose and public awareness. They are not intended to provide self-treatment for any serious conditions. Today, June 11th, 2019, and topic for today's health in show is homeopathy for women's health condition. Homeopathy helps in several female conditions from puberty, menstruation, pregnancy, menopause with simple PMS, uterine fibroids, polyps, PCOD and PCOS to cancer, etc. When I was doing my internship in 1995 in India, I had a girl 16 years old who got menstruated at age of 14, and after few months her menses got suppressed for over a year. And after taking her case in detail, which is considered as stress-induced secondary amenorrhea, I gave her homeopathic remedy which regulated her menstrual cycle in few months. Today, our honorable guest speaker is Gabrielle Traub. She is a board-certified classical homeopath, and Gabrielle is a world-renowned homeopath and a teacher. She has worked in hospitals and rural clinics in South Africa. After moving to California, she worked as OBGYN for a decade alongside as a traditional OBGYN and a fertility endocrinologist. She has assisted in natural birthing, taught childbirth classes, and worked extensively with infertility. She has taught homeopathy in England, South Africa, Pakistan, Dubai, Australia, and USA. Her online course, Homeopathy for Obstetrics and Gynecology, is probably the most extensive homeopathy course on women's health and is available to the public. A mother herself, Gabrielle now works in San Diego, where she specializes in treating women and children. For more information, you can reach her at 858-531-5279 or visit her at www.sandiegohomeopathy.com, SANDIEGO homeopathy.com. Her lectures were so informative and enlightening, and was delighted to meet her in the last year JHC conference at Phoenix in Arizona. Let us welcome Gabrielle to our show.
Thank you. It's wonderful
Welcome,
to be
Gabrielle.
here. Thank you so much for having me on the
Yeah.
show. I'm so excited to be able to share homeopathy with everybody. You know, there's two areas where homeopathy really shines, and that's in women's health conditions and psychiatric medicine. These are the two areas where you see the most amazing, most dramatic results with homeopathic treatment. So I'm really lucky to be in one of those fields.
Wonderful. And Gabriel, you see so many cases in your clinic. Wonderful cases. Just share all your knowledge and experience how people are getting benefited.
All right. That's what I'm here for.
Please
Okay,
go ahead.
wonderful. Okay, so let's go on to the first slide, please.
Yep.
And the first slide looks at what all of these women have in common. And the first slide is the one back. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. The very first slide. There we go. So the thing that all of these women have in common, and here I live in the California, United States, where people love celebrities, so they're a little bit celebrity crazy. But the thing that all these women have in common is they all use homeopathy, and that's sometimes all it takes for somebody to try something new, to see, you know, what other people are doing, what other people that have all the money in the world, they can choose any treatment that they like, and these women are using homeopathy. And I can't say which, but actually 3 of these women have actually been patients of mine in the past. I used to work in a clinic in London where we saw a lot of a beautiful clinic that was opened by the Prince of Wales, where we saw a lot of public figures. Okay, the next slide, please. The next slide is the scope of practice, what I see in my clinic. So we see a lot of women that are entering into puberty. We see women who are in menstruation age, and the types of conditions we see are problems with their periods, painful periods, heavy periods, structural conditions like PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, all sorts of hormonal imbalances, sexual dysfunctions. And then I also help women through fertility, pregnancy. I've helped with labor, and it's amazing, postpartum, for breastfeeding and the postpartum depression. And then also very, very commonly, I see women going through the transition where they are menopausal, perimenopausal, and all sorts of postmenopausal conditions associated with that, like the osteopenia, the sleep disruption, the sexual issues, the vaginal dryness. We see a lot of thyroid conditions here in the United States. It seems to be like an epidemic of thyroid conditions. And then we also treat women's emotions, the depression, the anxiety, and so forth. Next slide, please. So the next slide, we look at a case of infertility. We see comorbid conditions. We see infertility with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and hypothyroidism. And I like to use cases to present that have multiple things wrong with them, because you see all of these things improved with one remedy. This is the amazing, amazing thing about homeopathy. We're not using one treatment for the PCOS and another treatment for the thyroid, and and 10 more treatments for the infertility. We're giving one remedy, and it puts the whole person in balance, which is just amazing. I love that about homeopathy. So this woman had been trying for 4 years to conceive. She tried everything, the acupuncture, herbs, IVF, one fertility doctor after the next, and nothing worked. And she had actually given up hope. And let's go on to the next slide, please. So that's slide number 4. And she had ovarian cysts on the right side. Her menses was black and stringy. So people often ask me, well, what does a healthy period look like? Should you have a lot of pain? No, people should not have a lot of pain. Maybe it's mild discomfort, but it should not be significant. Should you have terrible PMS? No, that's common, but it's not ideal. Your periods really want to be a clean period, bright red color, moderate flow. It should start right away, not take a few days to come in, and it should end abruptly. And it should be a good, normal, healthy flow. So whenever we see, black or stringy periods or lots of cramping or lots of pain, that's an indication that something's out of balance, and we can treat that homeopathically and get the whole system back in balance. As a child, she never felt accepted. She was the life of the party as an adult, full of energy around people. But as the moment she got home, she would crash. She took on too much responsibility, and she felt like a royal queen. She loves fine, luxurious things, delicacies, expensive foods. And so when we go to the next slide, you can see the type of rubrics that we use. For those of you who are not familiar with homeopathy, a repertorization is a tool that we can use to help find the best remedies for our patient, to give us ideas. So a lot of homeopaths have this process going on in their brains, and we use our book or our computer programs to help see if there's anything else that we may have missed. We try and find remedies that cover as many symptoms as possible. And I've been doing this a very, very long time, and I still repertorize every single one of my cases. Even if I think I know the remedy, I always repertorize just to give me ideas of remedies that I may not have considered.
Gabrielle, I just need to interrupt you a moment because
Yes.
what you're saying, so many phenomenal things. I just want to draw attention to what you just said, because I think a lot of people have come to the realization that pain is normal.
Right.
And you have just said something that has just set women free.
So pain is common.
Common, but doesn't have to.
Normal. It's not optimal. It's not, your periods are not supposed to be painful. They're not supposed to be. And that can be fixed with homeopathy.
That's an amazing statement. So I hope everybody is hearing that, because that's great. Thank you for,
if you have pain, it doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily pathologically wrong with you. There could be. It's common.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal.
But it's also interesting because I think sometimes if you don't have pain, you think something is wrong.
Right.
So thank you for clarifying.
Happens when you treat a patient, like the period just shows up one day. And they're like, I wasn't even expecting it. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have all that PMS. I didn't have all that hormonal flux. So sometimes it can be shocking for a woman who starts homeopathic treatment that their period just arrives and it's there. And that's how it's supposed to be.
Good. Thank you for that.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we're on slide number 5. So, slide number 6. So I gave her a remedy, and I hope many of you homeopaths knew what the remedy was. It's a common remedy for PCOS, and the remedy, especially right-sided ovarian cysts. And the remedy was palladium, 200C. And I usually do not do this, but in this case, I just gave her one single dose. She was very, very sensitive, and I didn't want to aggravate her, so just one dose. But she happened to take the dose when she was ovulating, so the timing was perfect. And soon after she took the remedy, she developed a sore throat, which resolved within a few days. Now, that's actually very, very common. Often, if there's so our body actually remembers every single infection or disease or illness we've ever had, even if it overcomes it naturally or if it's been treated. And often after taking a remedy, what we have is a return of an old symptom. And that is really the body's way of completely resolving any disturbance or imbalance that wasn't effectively resolved at the time of having that illness. So for her, she had a history of sore throats and strep and those type of infections, so that she developed a sore throat, which quickly resolved in a few days. But what's amazing is, after so many years of trying and after so many treatments, from the palladium's 200C, one single dose, she got pregnant on the very first cycle of homeopathic treatment, which is phenomenal. You never hear about this in fertility treatments. And then what's even more amazing is a few years later, she got pregnant again, easily and naturally at 44 years old. She had a natural home birth with a birthing pool and, of course, homeopathy. And today she has 2 beautiful children that are ages 10 and 7. So this is a wonderful and this example of how homeopathy can really be effective. And I love to present cases of fertility because the remedy either worked or it didn't. There's nothing subjective about it. There's a baby or there's no baby. So I really like the completeness of the case. And I'm going to present a lot of fertility cases for you, but really what we're treating is the underlying disturbance that caused the infertility. In her case, it was polycystic ovarian syndrome and hypothyroidism. So this is another case. As you can see, I see a lot of these of PCOS, hypothyroidism, and infertility. For those of you who don't realize, what some of the most common causes of infertility are PCOS, hypothyroidism, fibroids, endometriosis, hormonal imbalances. So these types of things can contribute towards infertility. So I want to compare similar diagnoses and see how the cases are so completely different when you actually explore and examine and dig deeper. So many patients say, well, what can I use for PCOS? Or what can I use for hypothyroidism? Or what can I use for infertility? And what we're showing with homeopathy, I'm trying to present here, is that it depends, because all of your diagnoses are actually very, very different, and your symptoms are very, very different according to the person that you are, and you'll need very, very different remedies accordingly.
Gabrielle, let me ask
Yes.
you another question, because I'm
Yeah.
the layman here. So I have a lot
Okay.
of questions. So do you prefer somebody to come to you after they have a diagnosis and then you can treat them for infertility, or how do you do it?
So a diagnosis is actually not necessary. It's
Okay.
helpful. It's a tool in my toolbox. The same thing with labs. I look at labs. I use it as a baseline to see how they're doing. But I don't really need labs to know how they're doing. The patient's either feeling better and symptom-free or they're not. So it's a tool. It's not necessary. Sometimes I actually like patients to come in and see me before they go to the doctor and get a diagnosis, because maybe there are some things that I can recommend that the doctor do. How about doing this test? Or, I can make some recommendations with these labs to make the diagnosis more thorough.
And can you do that remotely? In other words, is it only people who come to see you, or can you work with somebody remote?
No, absolutely remotely.
Perfect.
You can tell a lot by their symptoms, and then I'll send them to the doctor, and the doctor will run, a panel of testing and so forth.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
You do Skype consultations also, right, Gabrielle? So we will help you out with clinic and both.
I do. I actually use a form of Skype that's HIPAA compliant called Doxy. It's just a little bit more secure and doesn't store any information. It's easy. We have like a virtual waiting room. So I prefer that to Skype just because of the HIPAA compliance.
And
So
Gabrielle, Go ahead,
yes, Gabrielle, how you start a case of PCOS when a patient is coming with a lot of reports and investigation and a fear inside that she is having the PCOS? Because in India, we are seeing many cases of PCOS and we are working since 2018. And we are having the fear, we are getting the fear in the patients because he is coming with the many type of reports, and the fear is the also we are finding the fear is the main cause, because many physicians are advised that she will not conceiving in the future during the PCOS and many things. So what will be your first step?
PCOS is completely treatable. It's a common condition that we see in my practice, and we treat it all the time. It's very treatable. There's nothing to fear. It's very common. It's very common, but it's very treatable.
Yes. But what will be your first step to start and to understand the homeopathy to a people about
Can
the
you
PCOS?
repeat that? I'm not
How
sure.
will you explain the PCOS to a general?
Oh, well, you just have to tell them that, every month their ovaries are producing cysts, and sometimes it's one and sometimes it's multiple. And when we call it a polycystic ovarian syndrome, there's usually other things associated with it. So usually we see changes in their insulin, their cholesterol. A lot of times we'll see weight gain. We will see what we call hirsutism, so hair at the places where it shouldn't be. There may be acne. And all of these things are very easily resolved with homeopathy. You just have to create balance in the system and regulate the hormones, and everything resolves. And they can fall pregnant very easily. It shouldn't be a problem to get pregnant.
And Gabriel has
Very
more to
nice.
show in her slides with different cases that cover both PCOS and PCOD, right? Gabriel,
Right.
we have more cases to go, right?
Yes, so let's go ahead. So this was a case of PCOS, hypothyroidism, and infertility. And I often, when I see patients, it's usually they're not coming in for one thing. They always have lots of different things going on. So we address it all with one remedy. So this patient also had asthma when overheated. She had headaches aggravated by sitting. That was unusual for me, that somebody would have a headache worse for sitting. And for this patient, she had had a baby before she got married, and she was from India. And of course, that was very much frowned upon. And her family forced her to give up her baby. And she felt incredible guilt, like she had done something terribly wrong. And she was brooding, constantly thinking about the child she lost. And she had a fear now that she was being punished and would never be able to have any more children. So let's look at how I address this case. Let's go to the next slide, number 8. So if we look at, a remedy for cysts and infertility and feelings that she had done something terribly wrong, and I looked at some of her other symptoms. She had pain in her heels. She had brooding over the loss of the child, and head pain aggravated by sitting, which is an interesting symptom. The remedy that came up is Kalium bromatum. And the way that I treated this case was weekly for 4 weeks. And after 1 month, all of her labs were improved. Cholesterol and her thyroid was normal for the first time in years. However, it did not help her period issues, and she still wasn't ovulating. She was doing ovulation strips every month. So I gave her what we call an organotherapy, a remedy to help stimulate ovulation. And this remedy was folliculinum 4C twice a day. And I gave it to her 2 days before ovulation until menstruation. I borrowed this posology from a research study that I saw using pulsatilla to treat PCOS. They would give it pulsatilla throughout the day. They actually gave it every 6 hours from ovulation until menstruation. They got such good results with stimulating ovulation that I would borrow that posology to use, implement into my own practice as a dosage tool. And so let's go to the next slide and see what happened. So after being on the folliculinum for a few months, she reached complete ovulation, which is really good. She peaked ovulation. Her menstrual flow was healthier, fewer clots, it was bright blood, less cramps. And she was also having a period every 40 days now. Before, she would only have a period every 3 to 4 months, which is a symptom of PCOS, is that irregular menstruation. Her doctors reduced her thyroid medication. She lost 15 pounds, which was significant because she was short. She was only 5.3. Her libido improved. She was less easily stressed. And we continued the folliculinum. And then at the next visit, she came back very emotional and weepy. This is slide number 11. She wanted her husband to hug her and touch her and caress her. She didn't want to be alone. And so when we see all this mental state, especially in a patient who has PCOS, we often think of pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is a very common remedy. And she had done so well on this dosage system, so I continued. I followed the pattern of the dosage system that we use for the folliculinum, so I switched it to pulsatilla every 4 hours, menstruation until ovulation. And the next period, she had was very, very good. Her pain and vaginal pain and dryness was gone. She quit her job and got a better job. She's had no asthma at all. That's been cured with the homeopathy. But then she developed a yeast infection. And so I gave her, repeated the pulsatilla because it's helpful for yeast infections until the yeast infection was gone. However, we didn't know at the time that she was actually pregnant. It's very common to get yeast infections when you're pregnant. And she conceived right after starting the pulsatilla. She had a healthy baby in pregnancy. And let's go to the next slide. However, after the baby was born, she developed this paranoia that her mother-in-law was going to take the baby away from her. And she wouldn't even let the mother-in-law hold the baby. And she had this, unreasonable thoughts that her husband and her mom were planning to take the baby away from her. So again, she shifted back into a calibromatum stage. We came full circle, and I treated her with calibromatum 1M and later a 10M. So you can see how I approaching a case, zigzagging through as we, when we're treating a patient, I really like to see what is their state in this moment of time. If I had to take a snapshot, a photograph, everything that I'm seeing at this moment in time, I want to prescribe for that situation. And so those remedies, as we zigzag through the case, really help to come full circle. So sometimes one remedy does everything, and sometimes we just need to assess the case fresh every single time and see what's presenting right now in this moment.
That is wonderful, Gabriel. And I see pulsatilla for the secondary amenorrhea also wonderful. And as you said, as the symptoms change and what is there at that moment, we have to go. And you have answered the Deepak's question too, like when they're nervous and what to do with too many reports. So Deepak's question was also answered. And Marilyn, would you like to have a question for Gabriel?
No, I'm looking forward to getting to, I'm 65. I can't wait to get to the next, when you get to those slides.
We'll get there.
Bring it on, Gabrielle, because I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes, that's what.
No, but I'm very interested in this because I do have, I have a daughter who has had issues, and I have 2 grandsons that were IVF. So I'm very interested in what you're having to say, so that I can share this with her as well. So no, I'm on both ends of your slides.
We'll get there.
Okay, good. I'm being patient.
You have it. So I just want to bring about some slides that come directly from my Whole Health Now course on women's health and obstetrics and gynecology. And the next slide, number 13, these are core remedies to stimulate ovulation. So sometimes when a patient is doing really, really well on a remedy, but they're not ovulating, I may decide to use one of these core remedies to help. And then the next slide, number 14, I'm not going to go into fibroids in a lot of detail, but I just wanted to show the slide because this is a table that I created and how to really navigate a patient who has bleeding fibroids. What does that mean? It means a patient with very, very heavy periods. And so we look at, well, what does the blood look like? Is their blood bright red or dark, black or clotted? And then we even have remedies for dark clotted blood and bright red clotted blood. How is the blood hot? Is it ropey or stringy? Is it an active flow or is it a passive flow? And does it cause depletion or anemia? And so when we assessing a patient's symptoms, that really helps fine tune which direction to go and which remedy to prescribe. And let's go to number 15. This is a flow chart I developed. And I developed these flow charts to help me, but I also developed them for my students to just make it really a lot easier. And we look at, is the blood dark or is it bright red? And then is it an active flow or is it a passive flow? And it gives us options for all of those. When this is a case of endometriosis, and this patient had intense, relentless pain every month from day 9 to 14, and she had this for 12 years. Sex was painful for her. Her periods were dark and clotted. She also had fatigue. She also suffered from anticipatory anxiety. She was very dissatisfied with her work and her performance. As a person, we like to know about the personality. She's kind and compassionate and likes to help others. She has a lot of guilt and a strong sense of responsibility. She's sensitive to criticisms, and she's very fastidious and has high expectations of herself. And so many of you that are homeopaths would have been able to determine the remedy, a very beautiful and amazing remedy for women's health conditions, and also looking at our genetic predispositions or our miasms, as we know in homeopathy. So if you look at slide number 17, I gave her carcinosum. First in a 1M and later a 10M. And she was very, very sensitive. So we actually have to dilute her remedy in water to give it to her. And it took about 6 months on the remedy, but over the next 6 months, her period pain is significantly improved. The rectal pain is gone. The pain on sex is gone. The mid-cycle pain is gone. Her periods are much healthier. And she's also feeling much happier in her life. Her energy is better. Her confidence is greatly improved. And she developed a strong sense of identity. And there was a deep healing, both physically and emotionally. And you may be going to your homeopath for a wart or a fibroid or hot flushes, but the beautiful thing about homeopathy is it can have this profound, deep healing on the psyche, mentally and emotionally, making you just feel more happy and calm and relaxed, which is so, so beautiful. In slide number 18, I created another chart, and this is for homeopathic remedies for endometriosis based on some of the symptoms. So symptoms that are common with endometriosis are heavy periods, intermenstrual bleeding, pain during sex, constipation during the periods, back pain during the periods, adhesions. Those with endometriosis are more susceptible to ectopic pregnancies, infertility, and then if they have a lot of heavy bleeding, they may have depletion or anemia. And this chart can really help guide you to which remedies are going to be best for you. And this is a case of dysmenorrhea, infertility. So dysmenorrhea is painful periods, infertility, and hypothyroidism. This patient had infertility, painful periods. She had a blocked right fallopian tube. She had had a history of a polyp and a fibroid that was surgically removed. She has a bicornuate uterus. So the shape of a uterus and the tilt of a uterus is abnormal. She had a retroverted uterus, and she was allergic to her husband's sperm. She had low libido, lots of vaginal discharges. So as you can see, it would be really hard for this patient to get pregnant. She had every possible imaginable, thing against her in trying to get pregnant. And she also had anxiety and feelings of worthlessness. And so just some interesting symptoms. Her uterus felt as if it was filled with rocks. It felt hard, and she had that burning and churning in her uterus. She had pain that was better on her belly or sitting in the child's pose, rocking back and forth. She was very hard on herself. Her anxiety and dysmenorrhea started when she went to medical school. She was the doctor, and she had to do very well in school. She really pushed herself and stressed herself out like crazy. And she had this feeling that she was worthless and wanted her husband to agree with her that she was worthless, even though that was absolutely not true. And so we would go to slide 21. You can see some of the symptoms and remedies that come up. So I put in the infertility, the stringy ropey menses, the dark menses, the polyps. I used the polyps rubric even though that wasn't current because that was her natural state. There was intervention that surgically removed it. That sitting on her elbows and knees ameliorated, the feeling that she's worthless. She also had an aversion to be touched. So we see remedies like sepia would come up. But she had been to a lot of different homeopaths, had so many different remedies. So I decided to treat this case what we call miasmatically, which means looking at her genetics and what's passed down from her mom and her dad and her grandparents to see how we can address this case. So because of all the growth and production and the mental state, I wanted to treat what I prefer to call the figwort miasm. It does have another name, but I prefer using alternative names just because they can get confused with psychiatric diagnoses, and that's certainly not the case. I feel like we have to be a little bit careful. We have names for all of our miasms, and some of the names can really scare patients, even though there's nothing scary about them. So I prefer using the word luetic miasm and figwort miasm because those words just have different connotations. But this is the miasm for overgrowth and overproduction. And so I gave it to her in a 30C daily, which she did well with. Eventually, she needed the 200C, which helped dramatically for the menstrual pain. The 1M dry dose aggravated, but the 1M in water helped her significantly for confidence and worthlessness. So she had been trying to get pregnant for 6 years, and after just 6 weeks after the remedy, she got pregnant. So when I say that we went to a 200C, 1M, and so forth, it was actually, she got pregnant on, I believe it was the 200C. It was the 200C, but she needed the 1M later on during her pregnancy and after pregnancy for some of her emotions. So we're on slide number 23. And 6 weeks after the remedy, she got pregnant after 6 years of trying, 2 rounds of Clomid, acupuncture, many, many different homeopaths and remedies. She had a healthy pregnancy and baby. Her headaches, her digestive complaints, painful sex, leukorrhea, all of that went away. She became more loving to her husband. So it's not just sepia that helps with that. There are other remedies too. Her confidence improved. She's loving her new teaching job. She's a doctor, but she was teaching as well. And she developed a wart on her flank, interestingly enough, which resolved. She had a history of plantar warts as a kid. And overall, she was just feeling really, really wonderful. So that's a nice way that we can treat using a theory of miasmatics.
And her allergy went away.
The allergy to her
Everything?
sperm, obviously, because she got pregnant.
That is amazing. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, my
Isn't
goodness
it?
gracious.
Right.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
it's so funny that you say that, because I often teach to doctors, and I was presenting to some cases to at Alvarado Hospital here in San Diego to a group of doctors, and they were very respectful. But as I was presenting the cases, I just saw their eyes just glaze over. And like they couldn't get it. Like, how is it possible? And they said, you didn't do any other treatments? No other treatments. They like, how is it possible? Like, for them, it's so inconceivable that this level of healing can occur. It's almost unbelievable. But we see this not just with homeopathy. We see this with all the ancient sciences, all the ancient medicines, Ayurveda, acupuncture, homeopathy. You can see these, dramatic cures that are honestly not really possible in Western medicine unless you do it. Maybe a surgery can help with something like that. But it really is almost too amazing to be believable.
It
and
is.
subtle.
It
It's
is. And
subtle at the same time. Yeah.
and hearing you, I mean, it's, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking and I'm reflecting on what you just said, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you have a belief that it's possible. If you're treating somebody and you don't have a belief it's possible, it's hard to treat them.
Right.
It's hard to see the cure.
The thing is, I still am pretty amazed every time.
Yeah.
And not every patient is going to have this reaction. I don't want people to have, you take a remedy and suddenly everything's gone. It's not like that. It takes time. It's not magic. And I'm obviously presenting my cured cases. So, but not every case, not every person is going to respond in this way. But it's so nice to hold that in the back of your mind. This is what's possible.
Absolutely.
This deep healing is possible,
Right.
which is so amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is absolutely true, Gabriel. Before taking the medicine, we should feel that this medicine, I believe in it, trust it, is going to help me and heal me. And Deepak also has a question.
Yes.
Yes, there is no question. We are enjoying the show. And Merlin, this is the experience of homeopathy which every patient is feeling after taking a dose. And this is actually the patient can feel after the taking dose, and this is purely a science of experience. And in many patients, and I can say every patient is thinking like that. Wow, yeah, how can you treat the syndrome? And we tell him that yes, this is really cure. This is really curable. So I advise every patient of the PCOS or the PCOD, do not fear about the disease or the syndrome. Just faith on the homeopathy and just experience it.
Yeah, it's not a complicated thing to treat. It's not so hard. It really is not.
Yes. Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to treat. So I request everyone to experience the homeopathy first and then showing the results. So
But you
please
have to
continue,
be
Gabriel.
patient. You have to stick to treatment. For
Yes.
sometimes it can take a year of treatment, and if you don't
Mm.
stick to it, you're never going to get the results. So be patient. It takes time. It's not like a drug that you take or a surgery and it's gone. Sometimes it can be very dramatic, and I'm showing the most speedy, dramatic cases. But in reality, these things take time. But the beautiful thing is, if you treat the endometriosis, if you treat the fibroid, if you treat the PCOS, if you treat the hormonal imbalance with homeopathy, or if you treat the hot flushes with homeopathy, you don't have to keep taking the remedy and it resolves. It's permanent. It's gone. It doesn't come back the moment you stop the herbs or stop the hormones, because those things just palliate. They're not truly deep. They're not engaging the vital force to heal on a very deep level.
Gabriel, one
Sure.
question. As
Yes.
far as the hormone replacement
Right.
and the homeopathy for premenopausal and menopausal, what would you advise?
Right. So every patient has to choose their own path. There's, every homeopathy is not for everybody. Everybody has to choose their own path. When it comes to hormone replacement therapy, there are certainly risks. And we are living, especially here in the United States, there is so much cancer and there's so much heart disease that, yes, hormone replacement therapy can give you a lot of relief, but it comes with a price tag. There's risks. And so a lot of what's becoming very, very popular now is the natural bioidentical hormones. And those are certainly much better and much safer. If you have any estrogen sensitive cancers or even progesterone sensitive cancers, there are such things in your family history and yourself. I would highly recommend that you do not do any of the natural hormones either, because they're contraindicated. A lot of people choose homeopathy because they want their body to kick in. They want it to be truly natural. They don't want to have to take a medication. You still have to take those hormones for years in. And the patients that see me don't want to be taking a pill. They don't want to be popping a pill. They don't want to be taking something forever. The beautiful thing is that homeopathy can really help you ease through the transition into menopause, and then you're done and you don't need to keep taking the remedies anymore. It really engages your own natural healing mechanisms to be whole and to be healed without needing something else from the outside. So I love herbs, I love Ayurveda, I love all of these tools that we have. But really, if you're looking to really get your body's own endocrine system, hormonal system, and those regulatory mechanisms to take an effect, then homeopathy is really the answer for that.
Wonderful. And do you have more cases, Gabriel, to show?
Yes, I have so many. I could keep going with cases.
Well, let me
today.
remind you. So you might want to if you want to skip to certain ones just because of time, and then we'll certainly have to have you back again, because this
Right.
is an
So
endless conversation. But just keep that in mind, and also, yeah, if anybody wants to come, huh?
So let's talk
Yeah.
about the next case. Let's go to case 24, because this is a different theme. This is something that's very, very common in the United States now. We have a thyroid epidemic, and a lot have Hashimoto's. So it's really a good idea if you have symptoms of hypothyroidism to check your thyroid antibodies as well, to test the TPO and thyroid peroxidase. And so this is a patient who developed on slide 24, 2 weeks after she got a shingles vaccine, and she developed Hashimoto's thyroiditis. She had the exophthalmos, the bulging eyes, the glaucoma with floaters and cataracts. She had yellow sclerotics. She had a lumpy left breast. She also had scoliosis. Her nails were ridged. She had tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ear. And her personality was extroverted, neat, and she likes to keep busy. Let's go on to slide 26, where I show the repertorization, and you can see a very common remedy after vaccinations. We have thuya, but silica is a very, very common remedy. So I gave her silica on slide 27, 6C twice a day. And so 2 weeks after taking the homeopathic remedy, her TSH, which is her thyroid hormones, actually skyrockets. And I think, oh no, what's going on? This isn't supposed to be happening. It's working in the wrong direction because we wanted to lower it. It was already too high. But she was feeling much more vital. She was feeling good. So we just watch and wait. And then over the next month, her TSH drops down. So you could see how her body was trying to regulate her thyroid. And so over the next few years, her TSH came to the very healthy normal range. Her thyroid antibodies came down to the normal range. Her energy was good. Her breast lumps were gone. Her floaters were better. She's feeling great. And this was a case I treated many, many years ago. And just in January this last year, she came in for arthritis with pain and stiffness. And again, silica was her remedy. And I gave her 200C, which cured. The next case on 29 is a case of hormonal imbalance with anxiety. This is a patient with estrogen dominance, and she was very unstable in her mood. She just felt horrible. She was anxious, angry, depressed. Her periods were all over the place. She had restless leg syndrome, and she was very intense. She was very loquacious, a lot like a lachesis type of patient. Let's go to slide number 31. She had so much anger inside and felt like she was going to explode. She felt like she was going crazy. She felt suffocated. Let's go to 32. She had a difficult childhood. Her father was a morphine addict. And when she got married, her sex life stopped because her husband had some sexual dysfunction. He couldn't have erections. She then went through IVF treatment to try to get pregnant and had a baby, and she felt trapped and suffocated. And so she had this strange symptom that the more the flow, the greater the pain of a period. So if we go to slide number 35, I ended up with 36. I ended up giving her a remedy, Cimicifuga racemosa, and it's very similar to our snake remedies. In fact, it's a plant, but another name for it is snake root. And I gave her to in a 200C, and this remedy was amazing for her. She felt like a dark cloud lifted over her. Her panic attacks, her brain fog, her insomnia, her binge eating, her menstrual pain were all gone. Her husband noticed the difference, but he's scared that it won't last, but their relationship is so much better. And at this point, her husband wants to start treatment. So I gave him lycopodium, which helped his libido and his erections, and so they can be intimate for the first time in years. And the husband also shared that when his wife was critical and screaming at him, he didn't want to be intimate. And so I follow up with a year later. This is slide 37. Her rage and her anger are completely gone. It just doesn't happen anymore. She's getting on so well with her husband. He no longer annoys her. It's amazing. I feel so different. Her husband is happy. Her menses is bright red blood, healthy, no pain. All the clots and stringiness is gone. Her cycle is every 23 to 24 days, so it's more regular than before. And 5 years later, she continues to do well. So that is the end of the case. Any questions?
Madeline, go ahead, Madeline.
Well,
Any question?
so for people out there that are questioning, and so when you find the thing, when you are with a patient, you find the thing to address first. But
Right.
the interesting thing is that within our bodies, when you find that one thing, it takes care of so many things.
Marilyn, you are spot on. That is absolutely right. Yeah.
And that is the awesomeness of all of this. If something is not working, a lot of things aren't going to work. So if you find that thing that's not working, a lot of things will start to work.
So in allopathic medicine, what happens is if you have eczema, you get sent to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist treats it usually with cortisone. And then that person develops asthma. So then you send to a pulmonary specialist, and you're giving a new treatment for that. And then you develop something else, and you get referred back and forth. And in homeopathy, we view it as all interconnected. We don't see your symptoms or your body parts as separate things. They're all part of you. We see it as part of one single imbalance. And that actually makes it a lot easier. We don't have to treat this and that and this and that. We treat in one central core imbalance. And that helps to put the patient in balance. And when you're in a balanced state, that's when your body knows how to heal. It just needs a little bit of help. We just need to give it that little boost so that all your natural healing mechanisms can occur. If you go and cut your leg or graze yourself, your body knows how to heal that wound. There's so many things that your body knows how to heal. We just have to remove any obstacles to cure, any things that are making you sick. And obviously we need healthy diet and good sleep and movement and a healthy state of mind. All of those things are really important for healing as well. But the remedy just gives you that little boost so that your body can heal itself. We really believe in the incredible innate abilities of healing that your body can do.
That is wonderful,
Yes.
Gabriel. You have so much to share. And just talk about your new book and your courses. And Deepak also have a question, one question. So we have another 8 to 10 minutes. So go ahead, Debbie.
Great. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. So
Yes.
let's go to slide. Go ahead.
This is then not a question, just sharing about the individualization of homeopathy. So, Malin, what you learned about today that in a case of PCOS, Gabriel used the pulsatilla, kali iode, palladium, and different medicine. That proves the homeopathic individualization. The homeopathy treat on in the word homeopathy is only treating the physical symptoms with correlate it with the mental symptoms and gives a one remedy for the one patient. So we are not expecting that every case of PCOS is having pulsatilla only. Every cases of PCOS is not going to treat with the Medullina morphosa. This is the beauty of homeopathy. For the single case, there is a single remedy. That is the beauty of homeopathy. So you did a wonderful job, Gabriel. Very wonderful.
Thank you. That's absolutely correct. Absolutely how you explained it. Okay, so on slide 38, I want to share my book that I'm so excited about. I've been working on this book for over 10 years, and it's called Live Right for Your Remedy Type. And essentially, it's a homeopathic lifestyle guide based on your type. So, for example, if we know that pulsatilla types, for example, their gallbladder doesn't work as efficiently as it should, especially in the beginning of treatment, and that can really improve with homeopathic treatment. But patients always say to me, which diet should I eat? Which food should I be eating? Which modalities should I do? So forth. So what's very, very popular right now is a ketogenic diet where you eat lots of fats. But obviously, that's not going to be very good for a pulsatilla type. So by knowing your type, what I've done in this book is really broken down how to live your life. What's the best way to optimize your health based on your homeopathic constitutional type? So, for example, a phosphorus type has difficulty with regulating their blood sugar. They tend to get hyperglycemic. They tend to be pre-diabetic, and so forth. So this type does not necessarily do well on intermittent fasting. They need to have small meals more frequently. And so we see, for example, that in our society, there are all these fads of which diet is best, everyone's into the phase of the fad that's going on. Which diet is best for everyone doesn't exist. It really depends on your individualization of your state, how your organs are functioning, how your body functions. So, for example, pulsatilla type, we'll go back to pulsatilla, does very, very well from having gentle exercise outside in the fresh air. They naturally feel better for that. Whereas a sepia type needs much more vigorous, intense type of exercise. And a silica type, again, is going to be much more gentle exercise. So the type of exercise you do, how to raise your children. So when you have kids, you know that what works for one kid definitely doesn't work for the other.
Right.
And
Gabrielle, let me ask you something. How do you know what your type is if you don't know?
So the best way is to go to find a good homeopath in your area, find a homeopath, and get diagnosed as your homeopathic type. And then based on that, it's so easy. We can see, well, which is the best diet for you, which is the best exercise, what other modalities will be really, really helpful for you. If you're children, how do you understand them? How do you understand your whole psyche? What things work for you? Like we know that our lycopodium kids are going to be addicted to sweets. They're going to be the kids that are always climbing up on the shelves trying to get in the cookie jar. Like how do you help that support those children? And also in your marriage, I looked at partnership and in your marriage, understanding your partner, what works, what is their love language. And so this book I'm so excited about. It's coming out hopefully in the fall. And it really takes your homeopathic treatment to the next level, because in our practice, we don't really have time to talk about all these things in detail. And we decide on a remedy, and then we can say, okay, this is how to live your life.
So are you pre-selling them?
I am.
Okay, tell everybody where they can get them.
So they can go to the website homeopathicbook.com. And if you're not ready to buy and just want to be updated, there's an option to be added to our newsletter that will let you know when the book comes out.
Fabulous. And then, and once again, if somebody wants to reach you personally, how do they find you?
So my website is sandiegohomeopathy.com. And, I do treat patients from all over the world. We have options for that. And our telephone number is 858-531-5279. And if people are just interested in my course, if you go to slide number 39, I have two courses available. It's a part 1 and part 2. It's 27 hours. And you can decide on what you're interested in. You can go look online and see on Whole Health Now. If you're interested in more of the menopause, perimenopause, and postmenopausal complaints, that is available. If you're interested in some of the sleep disorders that women experience, infections. And what I really try to emphasize in this course, because I saw a lacking of it in my own teaching, is really diving deep, doing a deep dive into remedy differentials. So we talk about all the core female remedies like sepia, pulsatilla, Cimicifuga, lachesis, aristolochia, and so forth. And then we look at which remedies surround that and how they're similar and how to differentiate. So I do a lot of very much in depth, going into depth, especially pertaining to women's health, into all those core female remedies and which remedies are similar to think of and how to differentiate between them.
There is no question you are an expert. And
Yes.
no question. No question. But before I turn it over to Kavitha, I just want to remind everybody that you're listening that Homeopathy World Community is going to have a whole new facelift, a whole new website, a whole new logo. And right now you can get in at the ground floor of the membership. So go to Homeopathy World Community. If you have not already been a member, you can join for $20 only. And we have all kinds of things coming free. If you are already in there, let us know, and you can join officially for $15 because that's how it's going to go. Kavitha?
Wonderful. Marilyn, you have covered everything.
I don't know about everything.
I'm going to say. And Gabriel, it was a wonderful show. We have just 2 minutes left, so I could not talk again about it. But her courses are wonderful. I have attended. I have met her the seminar. I recommend everyone. She's a sweet lady, Gabriel, and thank you so much for having you on our Health In Show. And to all the chat members, I'm not seeing you, but thank you all for your messages, comments, and please register to the Homeopathy World Community to know the upcoming events. And for July, we have an expert homeopath, Dr. Pankaj Agarwal. He's PhD in homeopathy and he's from Delhi. He's also an ex-principal of Homeopathic Medical College. He will be talking about the organ of medicine. And we have, for July, there is a webinar with Karen Allen. And that is a webinar. That's not a health show. It is on July 13th. So all that information will be available on the Homeopathy World Community. And Karen Allen will be talking about the windows into the endocrine repair. And on June 17th, I'll be talking to Nash about the Homeopathy World Community and what is the new things and what is all going on, all the fun stuff. Thank you so much once again. And Thank you, Gabriel. Everyone, Marilyn, Amnon, Deepak.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Gabriel.
having
Thank
me on
you.
the
Thank you,
show.
Gabriel.
And thank you for all the wonderful hosts we have. Oh my
Your,
goodness. How lucky.
Gabriel, your smile will give a 50% of cure to your patient.
Yes, one that is absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it was
Thank you
terrific.
so much.
Yes, thank you. It was great. I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you all.
Have a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.